Hey everyone, I'm Melissa from Knitting the Stash, and this is a tutorial about attaching vertical button bands to a cardigan. So I have here the Reverb cardigan by Tanis Levelet. It came out as a Brooklyn tweed pattern, and you'll notice if you pick up the pattern that you're basically knitting the shell of most of the body up to where the button bands would be. And normally you'd pick up button bands, pick up some stitches here, and knit them horizontally, right? But these button bands are knit vertically. So in this tutorial, I want to talk to you about some of the reasons why I think the designer chose to add vertical button bands. We'll talk about how to gauge where your buttons should go, and then how to line up your buttonholes, because it's a little bit trickier when you're working on a vertical band from the bottom up and attaching it to the sweater. We'll also talk about how to attach and some of the choices that I made in terms of selvage stitches and things like that with this particular pattern. So let's get started. Okay, so here's our sweater. This is the Reverb cardigan by Tanis Levelet of Tanis Fiber Arts, and it was included in one of the Brooklyn tweed collections a while back, maybe 2013 or 2014. And as you can see, one of the reasons that you would add a vertical button band to this sweater is that it has this beautiful vertical kind of cable going on the front. And so if you were to add a typical button band, which would be picking up the stitches here and knitting in this direction, you'd be, swapping out some of the directionality of the pattern, and you would lose the opportunity to add a few more kind of vertical lines here. Now, with this sweater, I would note that some people who have made it have included the addition of the button band fabric into the actual making of the cardigan. And it is a top-down cardigan. So you begin up here with your collar, you do your increases for your sleeves, and at the same time you begin these cables. So what you could do is, as you're casting on for your collar, you could cast on for your button band as well, and simply work the button band as you're going down. I know some people have worked it with DPNs, because ideally this strip here would be worked in a needle that's a needle size smaller than what you're using for the rest of the cardigan. So you just have to decide how you'd want to work that. But for the purpose of this video, I wanted to show you how to actually go about attaching vertical button bands to a sweater, and this is actually just the perfect sweater to demonstrate with. Now, one of the things that you'll notice here is that I've already attached the button band itself, which is where the buttons are going to go, and I've marked out where I want to put the buttons. And you'll see on the inside, I did a simple mattress stitch here. And you can barely see it. If you feel it, you can feel that it's a little bit more raised than the other ridges, just by touch. But I don't think you can really see it because it blends right in with the rib. And that's one of the beauties of mattress stitching anything together, is that it is fairly invisible. So I've already attached, like I said, this button band to the sweater. And over here you can see what the unfinished edge looks like. So the unfinished edge just includes the cables and a kind of selvage stitch over here on the side. And that's something you want to keep in mind. If you are going to add vertical button bands to a sweater, it's always good to plan ahead so that you have some selvage. And by selvage, I mean an extra stitch, because when you're doing a mattress stitch, you're going to be working in between these two stitches. And that selvage stitch, that extra stitch on the side, will get folded under. And that's why you have that little ridge over here, because it and the fabric that you're attaching to will get folded under, and you'll really only see that front stitch. And that's why on this panel over here, where I did the attachment, is right here. And this ends up looking like, the way I did it, it looks like a 3-stitch rib. And I wanted that because I like to have a little bit of a border between my cables and then the 2x2 rib that's going to be on the actual button band. So there are lots of choices here, lots of things going on. And what I wanted to talk to you about today is how to actually knit the button band, and to know how long it should be, how to not distort the fabric when you attach it, how to figure out where your buttons go, and then as you're knitting the actual buttonhole band, which is this one, how to know where to place the buttons so that you don't end up with distortion on your fabric. So I'm going to talk about all those different kinds of things now that we've talked a little bit about why you'd add the vertical button band in the first place and what the beautiful mattress stitch can do to hide all of that seaming, which is pretty amazing. Okay, so this button band is knit from the bottom up and it's knit in ribbing, and I've actually modified this from the pattern. I decided that I liked the way this particular rib looked, and by that what I mean is I have a three knit stitches on this side, which will serve as the edge of my cardigan. I just like that, the finished look of that. I think that the little roll that it gives you on the side is just a nice touch. And then there's the 2x2 ribbing, and then over here I've added, or I shifted the stitches, I should say, so that I ended up with two knit stitches on this edge. Now one of these two knit stitches will be my selvedge, and that's what I'm going to attach to this selvedge over here. So both of these stitches will be kind of tucked under, and it will create a very similar effect, hopefully the exact same effect as you have on this other side, where you end up looking like you have about 2.5 to 3 knit stitches all together with that selvedge. Now in the pattern, it's I've almost pretty much reversed the two. So you're supposed to have this edge as your edge of the cardigan, and you're supposed to have this be your selvedge that you're attaching to the body of the cardigan. I didn't really like that, so I just went my own way, created my own vertical strip here. And as you can see, I've been working the buttonholes into the strip. So let's talk about how I figured out where to put the buttons in the first place. One of the things you want to think about with buttons and button bands is where you're expecting your buttons to be, how many buttons you're expecting to have, how big or small their diameter is going to be, so that you can determine how big of a buttonhole you need to make on the other side. These are all different considerations that I'm not going to necessarily talk about today, but I will talk about placement. So I decided to not follow the pattern and place my button about 2 inches or 2¼ inches below the upper collar here. That seems like a nice place where you'd want a button. And then I knew I wanted to put about 6 buttons on here total, so I spaced them out. And these are about 3½ inches apart, and that equates to about 24 rows in between each of the buttons that you see here. So I've got, because I have the measurement of 3½ inches, and I know the row count, which is going to be 24 to 25, depending on which one I'm on. I'd say an average of 24. I can double check my button band those 2 ways, and I can actually double check it by applying it to the buttons. So let me show you what I mean. And you'll notice that my buttonhole band is still on the needles, and that is because in the pattern and most of the time when you're attaching a vertical button band, you can adjust the length. So you could do what I'm doing here, and I haven't attached it yet, but once I start attaching it, I'll attach it all the way up to the top, and then if I need an extra row or 2, I can still add that extra row or 2 before binding off. That way it's not too short, it's not too long, and it's not going to distort the sweater. The other thing that I did is I left my plastic clips on here, which are meant to represent buttons, and that way as I was knitting, I could line up the button band with my buttons and use them to kind of test whether or not my placement of the buttonholes was going to distort the fabric in any way, or if it was going to sit, which it should, quite nicely right along the already established buttonholes, or the already established buttons on the button band. So this is what the sweater will look like once it's closed, and you can see that the fabric is nice and even. There are no distortions. The bottoms line up down here pretty nicely, and I'm feeling pretty confident that when I actually attach this buttonhole band to the side of the sweater, that in the end the result that I'm going to get is going to be a good one, and one that I'm happy with the sweater. Now I will note that none of these pieces have been washed or blocked, so as I'm working with this, I chose to leave everything unblocked, and I think that you either want to block everything, so that would mean creating your button bands and your sweater, washing and drying everything, and then working with material that has been equally blocked and washed, or as I chose to do, not blocking or washing anything, so that you don't want to work with one fabric that's been washed and another that hasn't. You want to make sure that they're both in the same state when you're trying to work this out, to make sure that you're not going to get any kind of distortion. So I'm happy with the length of this. Let's check, or with the setup of the buttons on this, let's check our length here just a little bit. And you can see that I am probably about 2 rows away from the top. So I can finish off knitting this band by adding probably 2 more rows and then binding off. And once I've done that, I'll meet you back here so that I can show you how I'm going to attach it to the actual side of the sweater. Okay, so I have bound off my buttonhole band, and I have also woven in all of the ends on it, not only so that you don't have to stare at them, but especially if they were on the edge that I planned to join. If they were anywhere near that edge, I wanted to make sure that they were going to be out of the way. The other thing I've done here is I've laid out my buttonhole band here just to see that it looks like I'm expecting it to look. And it does. Now normally when I would be seaming a couple of pieces together like this, I would have on hand a few of these kind of removable safety pins, because especially if you're working with something that's kind of a larger piece that you're joining together, you want to make sure that you're staying on target. And one of the ways to do that as you're mattress stitching, to make sure that one piece isn't going to get ahead of the other, like be pulling and distorting, is to kind of set markers for yourself along the way where you're very happy with having the fabric joined at those points, and as you get to those points you remove the clips. Now with this particular piece, I'm just working linearly, and I've already attached this button band, so I know that it works just fine without the clips. I know kind of where I'm planning on going in and out with my needle for the mattress stitch, so I'm not going to clunk this up with pins right now for the purposes of this demonstration. But if you wanted to do pins, what I would recommend is setting a pin at the top where you're expecting your final join to be. And then I would recommend, especially if you were doing sleeves or something like that, you want to fold things in half and then in quarters so that you can create markers for yourself. So like this would be the halfway point, and you'd know that by folding it in half and noting that you'd want to add a pin right there. And then again, you'd fold it in quarters and know that you wanted a pin there. So it's just an easy way to make sure that you're segmenting yourself as you go so that you have markers along the way. All right, I'm going to shove this sweater all the way up here. And what I've got is a tapestry needle. I like the ones with the little bend at the end. And I have a length of yarn here, and you can see that it's doubled over quite a bit because it's long enough that I know I'm not going to have to restart it. I really don't like doing that when I'm mattress stitching. I'm also using the yarn that was used in the sweater. This is Brooklyn Tweed's shelter yarn, and it's a little bit temperamental in that if you pull on it, it can snap. So if you're going to use this like a woolen yarn like this for mattress stitching, you want to just be careful that you're not doing the really indulging in the mattress stitch trick of like weaving in a few and then just pulling it to see how it goes, because that will break this kind of yarn. I'm going to be a little bit more careful with it, so I'm not too worried about it. All right, at the bottom here, I'm going to begin by just going in on the edge of my button band, and I'm going to leave a little bit of a tail there to be woven in at the end, and then I'm going to go in on the other side here, somewhere very close to the edge. There we go. And the tricky part at the beginning here is just making sure that you're keeping your threads separated. Now the mattress stitch, for those of you who don't know it, I'm going to be going for the bars in between my selvage stitch and the first stitch there. So I'm going to go back in here, look for that bar. I think you can see those two little bars. I'm going to go 2 by 2 for this one for the most part. So I'm going to go in between those two stitches, and this is the tricky part because it wants to get all tangled up with itself here. Okay, then I'm going to go in on the other side, and I'm going to pull it up right through here. So I'm just working these little bars underneath right in between the stitch over here, and you'll see in a minute that it ends up working out just fine. Now this isn't a mattress stitch tutorial, so I'm not going to go too slowly through here. There are some really great tutorials on mattress stitch all over the YouTubes, and If you're new to mattress stitch, I would encourage you to go check those out. There's all kinds of different ways to mattress stitch, especially if you're joining fabrics that are stockinette to stockinette or garter to garter or different shapes or different sizes or all kinds of different things. So there's lots of tricks and tips out there about mattress stitching depending on what you're doing. Okay, here's the moment of truth, and I'm going to do this very gently because this is a woolen yarn. But you can see what we're doing is joining these two so that we're going to end up with what looks like a 2.5 or a 3 stitch rib right there. Pull that together just very gently with this yarn, and you can see that it just dissolves. So once I weave in that end, it's going to look exactly like its little cousin over here on the main body of the sweater. So I'm going to continue mattress stitching all the way up, and then I will meet you back here and we'll talk about the last bit of finishing up at the top. All right, I'm coming up on the very top here, and as promised, I'm back to show you how I finish this off. So I'm doing my last couple of mattress stitches here. And you'll notice that with this yarn, I need to pull it tight pretty much after every 2 to 3 stitches. And that's not something you would normally have to do with mattress stitch, but because of the nature of this yarn that I'm using, I have to be extra careful of it. And again, you don't have to use the same yarn that you use to knit the piece because mattress stitch is invisible. But I'm using it because I like to not waste things, I guess. All right, at the very top, I'm going to do a little bit of making sure that I have a good finish on this whole thing. Go through there. Come back through the top here. There we go. Give it one little last tug, and I think you can see that at the top it's finished pretty nicely. So I'm just going to weave in my end here, and I'm just going to do it a little bit differently because I want to make sure that this top join is looking pretty seamless. Yeah, that kind of just one little stitch can make a nice statement about the finishing of the project there. And I'm just gonna go, this yarn is so sticky because of its woolenness that I'm just gonna run it right down the row of stockinette here, and it will felt to itself probably before I even finish doing the stitches. It's so sticky. So this is what our finished buttonhole band looks like, and you can see we have a nice finish at the top. This is the seam right here. You can't even see because it matches the other side and it matches the ribbing going all the way down. And let's give it a test. This is the moment of truth. Pretend these are our buttons once again and see if we've managed to line everything up well here. Obviously, since they're not real buttons, they're not going to stick perfectly here, but they're going to give us an approximation of what we're hoping for. And there we go, all the way up to the top. You can see that the top is nicely lined up. Nothing is being distorted. So these buttons, if these are buttons, they would sit perfectly on the fabric. And there you have it. That's how to attach a vertical button band to a cardigan. I hope you enjoyed that tutorial, and I'd love to hear your questions and comments. You can email me at knittingthestash@gmail.com, or you can always leave a comment here on the YouTube thread, and I always do my best to get back to you to try to answer your questions. So until next time, take good care.